Checking the mic. Checking the mic. We got Six-Slack 11 in here, Taylor Top 16, Roblox Minecraft Fan 2019 here. Welcome, guys. Welcome here. Once this song ends, we will start. Testing 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and there we go. And we are live. So, how's it going, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to turn on this light here so you guys can see my pretty face. And how's it going? Hope you guys are doing well here. Welcome to the second episode of the ToonCar Tandem podcast. So, before we begin, a couple of housekeeping notes here. First of all, most of you guys know me as like a NASCAR YouTuber and, NASCAR stuff, but we're not going to talk about NASCAR really much at all for this podcast. This is the tune portion, if you will, of the ToonCar Tandem podcast. And yeah, we're going to be talking about animation and why it is so important as a medium. So, before we begin, I would like to go ahead and reintroduce you guys to my partner in crime for this podcast, Sonic Rules 831, also known as Alex Gray. Alex, how are you today?
I'm doing just fine. I am now in my weekend from work.
Yes.
I woke up just a couple of... Go ahead.
Go for it.
Woke up just about 2.5 hours ago because of my shift, but I'm doing fine.
Yeah, I was about to say, because you work the, what do you even call it, like early morning, late night shift?
Kind of like that, yeah.
Kinda. Yeah. I think you mentioned it's like you go to work at like 2 a.m., right? That's like when you
Yeah.
start. Mmm.
Hmm.
Get this. Ugh. No, I I'm good with that. But God bless
I'm
you
I'm
for
insane.
you're important, and that's all that matters. I've been doing all right as well. Just plugging away here. I mean, I made some NASCAR content recently, but definitely want to talk about animation. I'm kind of in that mindset, and we'll talk about it more in depth. But no, just I survived another week of work. Nice good old office job. Yeah, it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very chill. Very what's the word for boring? There's another word for boring. Tedious. Thank you, Griff.
Yeah.
I'm talking to myself. Anyway, so yeah, otherwise, yeah, just plugging away here. And yeah, so let's jump into this a little bit here. For the Tune episodes of the ToonCar Tandem podcast, one thing I do want to bring up is what have we been watching lately? And so, Alex, I'll start with you. Besides NASCAR, what have you been watching lately?
Yeah, so recently I finished up anime on Netflix called Brand New Animal.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of been sweeping across the internet lately. It's made by Studio Trigger, the same people who made Little Witch Academia. So yeah, it's a short like 12 episode series, but it's it's really good, and it touches a lot of interesting topics I think are relevant to our world right now, with all sorts of things going on. So, if you have Netflix, I definitely suggest that you check it out and give it a watch. I just heard My Hero dropped an OVA episode today, so might be watching that later.
Wait,
See
wait,
what
wait,
that's
wait,
all
wait, wait,
about.
wait, wait, wait. This is news to me. OVA?
I think that's what it is. Yeah, I saw on Funimation. It's called Do or Die Survival Training Part One.
Hold up. This is news to me. Like, we did not talk about this before. Wait a minute.
Oh, my
Really?
apologies.
No, that's totally fine. I'm looking this up right now. Because I have Funimation as well. But so
Oh, okay.
yeah. So just for the audience, what is a OVA?
Um,
Alex?
My bad. Yeah, I'm not an anime expert at all. Even though I'm getting better, it's an original video animation.
Yeah.
Um, it's like Japanese animated films and series made like for release home video formats
Uh-huh.
without like showing it on TV or theaters. So yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll look this up later, but thanks for that good old curveball there on me. So,
All right.
but going back to BNA, what exactly is, without spoiling much, like what is the plot of that show?
Okay. It's this world where there are humans and these people called beastmen, where you know people actually are beastmen or like animal human like forms. And there's this city that was made called Anima City. And the main character's name, her name's Michiru. And she just out of nowhere one day became a beastman, which was, really surprising to a lot of people. And she wanted to move to this city. And let's just say that sometimes in life, things are not what it's cracked up to be. I'll
Hmm.
leave it as that.
Gotcha. Well, guys, if you want to check out Brand New Animal, as Alex said, it is on Netflix. Only 12 episodes. I'm currently 4 episodes in. Definitely a big fan of the animation style so far. The story is it's interesting to say the least. I've never been one into like the like Anna. We talked about this in the last episode. Anthropomorphic. That's it. The
Yeah.
anthropomorphic like characters. But it's interesting. Again, like I've not finished it. And I might get into that later. So,
Mm.
have you been watching anything else, or is that it for you?
Unfortunately, that's it. I haven't been watching much this week.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so for me, I've been watching two things. First of all, last Saturday night, just for giggles, me and my roommate watched the first half, I would say, of the first season of SpongeBob. I have the DVD of the first 100 episodes, and so again, just as a heads up, I'm 26 years old. So me and my roommate kicked back, had a couple of bush lights, and enjoyed the first season of SpongeBob, and very good stuff. It was very good stuff. It was his hat, Mr. Krabs. He was number
Was number
one.
one.
I hope in the future to do a more in-depth episode of like SpongeBob specifically, and so we can kick out all the good old memes from SpongeBob. But the other show that I have been getting into this week, it's an anime on Netflix, kind of like Alex, but it's called Seven Deadly Sins.
Okay.
So a couple of weeks ago, they dropped the final season. I believe it was the final season of the show called Wrath of Gods. And the premise, as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of like they take like biblical like terms and like ideas, if you will, and they kind of put it into like a big action-packed show. And so the premise of Seven Deadly Sins is you got these seven, I guess you could call them like knights, like special knights, who all have these special abilities, and they of course correlate to the actual like seven deadly sins. So wrath, lust, greed. Let's see, gluttony. I'm trying to remember all of them. Sloth. There's a couple more, but each of the characters like have that, and they kind of embody that, if you will. And they fight like demons, and there's like god creatures and fairies, and it's a very far out there show, to say the least. And one big reason why I'm so interested in it is the ideas that come out of the show. There's a lot of very clever, very smart ideas that have come out of there, and yeah, it is more like rated T for teen, at least for sure, but it is. I do recommend it. I do recommend it. It is on a more mature scale, but yeah. So there's and the last thing that I find that's very weird about it, the way how it's released, there are four seasons technically, but season two only has like 3 episodes, which I don't understand. While the other three, or all the other 3 seasons, they each have like 24 episodes each, and so it's like I don't get it. I don't know why that's the case, but it is what it is. And yeah, so currently I'm trying to remember, I am 8 episodes in to Seven Deadly Sins, season 4, and yeah, I would definitely recommend it, and you guys should give it a go. So yeah. So
Mhm.
Alex, anything else before we switch to the main topic?
I think we're good here, and I'll remind you now to switch to the next topic.
Ah, you actually did it. I am so proud of you. Thank you.
I did the thing.
You
Yes.
did the thing. Thank you so much. All
You're
right.
welcome.
So, as we've kind of talked about before, and I did mention this in the other social medias, but I really didn't do it here on YouTube, and I apologize. So we're not going to be talking about NASCAR at all. Last NASCAR race was still at Michigan, and we talked about that on Monday. And actually, one little reminder before we jump into the main topic is that next week's episode is going to be an Ask Me Anything episode. And so, if you guys want to go ahead and ask me questions, you can go ahead and do so on the Discord, the Griff Dog Discord, which is linked in the description below. And also, if you like don't have Discord or just don't want to do Discord, later this week I'm actually going to set up a tweet, and it'll have the thumbnail for the third podcast, and then you guys can reply to that with the questions there. I decided to spread it out a little bit because we want the entire episode to be nothing but questions. And these questions can be about NASCAR, animation, working out, life, whatever. You guys are more than welcome to ask whatever. So, speaking of whatever, let's jump into the main topic of this podcast, which is why animation is important, why it's so important as a medium, and why animation is not just for kids.
Hmm.
So, to start this off here, what we want to talk about is kind of mine and Alex's introduction to animation. So, I'll go first. And to start things off, I was a Nick Jr. kid. So some of the shows that I watched when I was little included Blue's Clues, Little Bear, Franklin, and then some of the Nickelodeon shows like Rugrats was also on there. Hey Arnold, Wild Thornberries a little bit, early SpongeBob, early Fairly Odd Parents. That was my jam back in the day. Some other stuff I watched back then too included the Disney movies. Like one movie I saw in theaters was Tarzan. Tarzan is a movie that I feel like nobody really talks about, but is really good. I do have the
Hmm.
Blu-ray of that film. And then also the older like Pixar movies, which include Bugs Life, Toy Story, Toy Story 2, and Monsters Inc., which all of those, except for Toy Story, I saw in the theaters. And excuse me, back in the day, that is a show, or that is like something that really caught my eye as a kid, was animation. And I don't know if it was like because it was a kid thing, like the pretty colors or the simple designs. I don't know what it was, but it really did catch my eye, if you will. And if you want to talk about anime for a second, I mean, I dipped into it a little bit. My big three, if you will, was Pokemon. So Pokemon, I was all into that. Like I watched the original Indigo show. I watched the first movie in theaters. I did play the Game Boy games, Pokemon Red, Pokemon Gold, and then eventually Pokemon. Oh, which one was it? Sapphire, I believe. So I played all those. I collected the trading cards. I still have all of the very first Pokemon cards, and I believe I still have a holographic Charizard. And I've heard that that card is like ridiculously like, not I was supposed to say expensive, but like the value of it is really high. So I have all of that. I was totally into that. The other two then was Digimon. If you guys remember that, Digimon was a huge thing in my life. I collected a bunch of the little action figures for Digimon and had little fun fights as a kid. And then the last one was Dragon Ball Z. Did watch that as a kid, and seeing Goku go Super Saiyan and kicking Vegeta and Frieza and Cell's butts. That was the life. That was fun, good stuff. And then I would say around 2010s was when I kind of fell off animation. I kind of like grew up and I thought, all right, it's time for real life stuff. But then like I eventually had the Renaissance, which I'll talk about in a minute. And yeah, that's really kind of my introduction to animation. I just loved like the colors of it, and yeah. So Alex, how was what is your introduction to animation?
Yeah, so like you, started out on Nick Jr. One of my favorites when I was very little was Blue's Clues. I was so hooked up on Blue's Clues,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, I don't know if you know that actually made a comeback recently. Um,
Yes. Yep.
yeah, and I thought the animation of that show was pretty appealing, just because like of the way it was animated, and then you put like Steve or later Joe with those characters talking to him. I just thought that was really like unique, really something different, something interesting. Um, let's see, Kipper the dog. I loved Kipper.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Um, that's a toad, not a frog. Um, let's see, Franklin, Little Bear. Definitely watch those. I think Oswald was
Yes.
one of them.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you remember Oswald.
Yes.
Um, um, I don't know if now it does, but back then it didn't. Thomas the Tank Engine, because they
Yeah. Yep.
they they used model trains to make the episodes back then, and now it's all
Yes.
CGI animated. So,
Yeah, I totally want to do an episode down the road talking about that. And like technically Thomas is CGI or it's technically animation, but I that is the one time where I do not like the animation like at all.
mhm.
So, yeah, but anyway, continue.
Okay. Um, so yeah, I watched a ton of Cartoon Network shows as well.
Mhm.
Um, oh gosh, let me see if I can name them all off here from the 2000s. Ed and Eddie,
Yes.
Cow and Chicken,
Mhm.
Courage the Cowardly Dog,
Mhm.
um, I Am Weasel, Johnny Bravo,
Mhm.
Powerpuff Girls.
Mhm.
Obviously, you know, it's this these two cartoons, these two classics are important for any kid. Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry. Um,
Yeah.
the classic cartoons, man. You got to watch the classic ones. Um, um, oh gosh, what else? So like, I remember a show, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Yep.
Um, My Gym Partner's a Monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, George of the Jungle. I remember that show for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Um, um, the show based off of the Japanese uh, rock band called Puffy Amiyumi. It
Oh
was
yeah.
called High.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hi Puffy Yumi.
yeah,
Yep.
that show was good. And of course, I did watch some Nickelodeon shows as well. Obviously, SpongeBob, Wild Thornberries. Even dipped into shows like Rocko's Modern Life, Invader Zim. I loved Invader Zim.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ren and Stimpy, even though that show's very interesting,
Yeah.
to say the
A
least.
little controversial, yeah, for sure.
It is. It is definitely. That is definitely one of the most controversial cartoons ever made. We could probably talk about that at some point
Yep.
down the road. And then
Yep.
later on, of course, 2010s, Adventure Time, Chowder, um, Flapjack, Regular Show, Steven Universe,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of shows.
Gotcha. So, did you ever have like a, I guess what do you call it, like a hiatus, or did you ever have like a dip where you just were not really interested in the animated stuff at all?
Oh man, good question. Um, I mean, I guess it's been like on and off, like in waves,
Mm-hmm.
depending on it. But I don't know if I necessarily ever took a hiatus because it was just like, I guess like I remember like early 2010s while I still watched animations. I watched shows like iCarly, Victorious,
Yep.
and as weird as this sounds, Big Time Rush, because I know their song's a big meme now.
Yep.
Um, for whatever reason, I thought those shows were pretty funny, and, uh, and enjoyed those at the time.
Okay. Not to segue away too much from animation, but did you watch Drake and Josh at all?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
Drake and Josh.
Yes, that's a phenomenal show, but hey, that's not animation. So the reason why I asked if you ever had a hiatus was because I did. Like I did have like I guess a break. So what happened to me was like in like 2010, and just for context sake, I was oh if you want to do the math, like 17, 16, 17 years old, so I was getting to a teen at that point. And I was kind of thinking like, man, I'm an adult. I'm going to watch adult mature cartoons and shows and stuff like that. And so some of the animation stuff that I did watch at that time was more of the Adult Swim stuff. So that included like Family Guy, which just to be clear, like I enjoyed the first like 3 seasons before it was canceled its first time, and then when it came back, it just never jived with me. That's my honest opinion on Family Guy. And then I also watched like Futurama, and then like all the late night Adult Swim stuff. So Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Robot Chicken was up there,
Mhm.
and Boondocks. Boondocks, which is also getting a revival on HBO Max. Very, as you say too, controversial show as well.
Yes.
Boondocks is. But then a thing happened in 2012. I went to college, and college was the first time where I really didn't have a television on me. And it was kind of around there where I was focused more on my own work. And like if I were to watch anything, like it would only be like on Netflix. But I didn't watch any animations like on Netflix. The only real big show I watched while I was in college was Breaking Bad, which was on Netflix. So I've binged that entire show. I love it. Lots of great ideas, but hey, that's not animation. So anyway, what was I talking about? So I've kind of just really could have cared less about animation at that point. My neighbors at college, like they were watching like Adventure Time, and this was back in 2013, and I saw like them watching it, and I just thought it was kind of like a silly, like far out there show, and it's like, I'm not too sure if I really jive with this. Um, and I've kind of stayed away from that for quite a while, probably up until I would say 2018.
Mhm.
Yeah, because in the later years, that's when I got more interested in NASCAR, and we'll talk about NASCAR here for a minute. And I got really interested in the NASCAR stuff. I was more focused on excuse me. I was more focused on like again making like the Dale Earnhardt series and just kind of focusing more on that. And I didn't really watch again much animations and shows. But when I got my full time job, which again I've talked about numerous times on this channel, um, like again, like a lot of things started to not click for me, and just mentally I felt lost a lot of times. And everyone's like, "Oh, keep making NASCAR content, make more Spark, make more What If videos," and I was at a point in 2018 where I was just absolutely burned out from NASCAR stuff, and there were times where it's like if anyone mentioned NASCAR, I would immediately either log off of Twitter or turn off the TV or wherever I heard it. It's just like it was just too much for me. And so the problem was I did not have like a second thing to be interested in because I was at the time so into the NASCAR stuff and I couldn't really do much of anything else. So I kind of like explored and just checked out different things. And then a YouTube channel by the name of Saber Spark. That is SaberSpark. I ran across his channel. And so Saber Spark is a kind of like a animation review channel, if you will. And he reviews kind of like he does this series called a What the Hell series, where he kind of reviews some crap animated movies and shows that are either just straight up awful or just people have forgot about, if you will. Um, and so I kind of caught on and I really enjoyed a couple of his videos. But the one thing that clicked with me, and kind of like, I guess, what really started the spark, if you will, for this animation surge, this renaissance, if you will, he recommended a video, or in a video, he recommended a show called Over the Garden Wall. You've heard of that show, Alex?
I think I know what you're talking about. I've heard of it, I think.
Okay. So Over the Garden Wall is a miniseries that aired on Cartoon Network back in 2000, I believe it was 2014. And the premise of the show is that you have these two boys, two brothers, stepbrothers actually, and they get lost in these woods. And it's so funny because like you know how you have like your Christmas specials? This show is kind of like a fall special. Not necessarily Halloween, but like it takes place in the fall, and the best time to watch this miniseries is in the fall. Now this series is it's a mini series, so it's 10 episodes long, and each episode is like 10 minutes. So if you want to watch all 10 episodes back to back, it's about as long as a movie, if you will, about 100 minutes if you do the math right. But anyway, so Saber Spark made a video recommending and like he was giving that show high praise. And I was like, you know what? F it for one night here. I'm going to go ahead and log on to Daily Motion because somebody actually uploaded the series on there. And I watched it. I other than what Saber Spark mentioned in the video, I went into it pretty blind. Um, and I don't regret it whatsoever. It was a phenomenal show, and it really opened up my eyes. Just there were so many creative just ideas and things like that. Really like, and not just story wise, but just visually too, is just astounding. And I remembered like finishing the show, and I was just kind of like in this state of just like blank, like what the hell did I just watch? And yeah, and I remembered actually like I had to like, and this was at night too, so I like logged off, shut the computer off, grabbed my coat, and I walked outside, and I took a nice like hour long walk, and I in a weird way kind of recontemplated like my life, and it's like what the hell am I going to do like with my life, if you will. And yeah, now I will admit I kind of lost track of it because this was at the time, this was like fall of 2018, so I was in the dirt with the 2018 Summer Showdown, making all the heat races, the C main, B main, eventually A main. So I again kind of lost sight of the whole animation side. Um, but then the big problem was I switched computers. I got a new Windows 10 computer, and I thought, oh, I could do the same stuff I did on the old computer onto the new computer. But then when I learned that I couldn't do Camera Control Master on Windows 10, which Camera Control Master is the thing that makes me make my videos and make them the way they are, since they did not work, like I freaked out, and it's like, crap, what am I going to do with like, am I going to keep doing the NASCAR stuff? Like, am I going to do different NASCAR content? Again, like I felt lost, and it's like I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Um, and so that's when animation comes back into play. And I remember, I don't remember which video it was that inspired me, but they pretty much suggested me to go watch Gravity Falls. So Gravity Falls is an animated show back in 2012 about a brother and a sister who are with his great uncle, their great uncle, in this town in Oregon called Gravity Falls. Lots of adventures, lots of mysteries, and I don't want to get too deep into it because I would love to make a separate episode all about Gravity Falls. So, with that being said, though, like I watched that in the like winter and spring of 2019. So this was after the summer showdown, and this is kind of when I was like again like freaking out, and it's like crap, what am I gonna do? Um, I like watched this show, and just like Over the Garden Wall, it just blew my mind. Like it absolutely like it blew my mind in several different ways that I was not expecting it. Like from a visual point of view, from a story point of view, from a connection point of view. It's something where it's like, why has it been so long that I have not watched this show, like or what been a part of this animation stuff for so long? And so after that, I really started getting deep into animation and not just like different shows and movies, but also like how to animate. I eventually invested into a tablet, a Wacom tablet, and so I've been doing a lot of work on those. If you guys remember last summer, I did a bunch of random drawings of NASCAR YouTubers, which I will admit I
Mhm.
was not really a big fan of, but I needed practice on the tablet anyway. I watched a bunch of videos. I read a bunch of books, including the Survivor. Oh, what's it called? Sorry, the quality of the mic. Animator Survival Kit. That's it. Animator Survival Kit. Read the book, and I think I mentioned this before, but right now I'm actually taking a online course on animation created by Howard Wimshurst, who you can also find on YouTube as well. Um, and so yeah, some other shows then that I kind of got into as well was Steven Universe, which is another show that I want to talk about more in depth later because it was a very important show to me. I'll just put it that way. It was a very important show because especially it was a show that I watched when my little brother passed last year, which I just will mention right now. Tomorrow will be the 1 year anniversary since my little brother did pass. So not going to be on social media too much tomorrow, but yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. But Steven Universe was a big, big part of kind of like I guess helping me through that point in time, if you will. And then another show too that I watched a little after was Seven Deadly Sins, which I talked about earlier in this podcast, and it was the first anime that I watched since getting back into animation. And yeah, it's all very important, I think. Animation is super important. And I want to just kind of transition now into some of the main points of animation. So I have 5 points here that I kind of want to mention as to exactly why animation is so important. And to start things off, I just want to talk about the vibrant colors and just how colors are so, I guess, important to animation. So I guess Alex, I'll throw it to you for a minute. Like, what do you, in regards to like colors, like what do you think of like colors, especially like when you see it in animation, and like how do different colors, I guess, affect you, if you will.
Good question. Okay, so yeah, I think the colors kind of just set the tone or the basic scene of depending on what you're watching. Um, I've seen you know some shows use a rather darker set and some use a rather happy brighter set. It just depends, and I think that the colors kind of set the tone of what that show or what that episode is about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It definitely sets the mood of
Yeah.
like an episode or the shot or whatever the case may be. And see, that's another episode that I definitely want to do in the future is talking about just colors in general and how like specific colors have different meanings. Like red,
Hmm.
whatever you do have like red. It's so funny too because I think of like one episode of Gravity Falls. I won't mention too specifics, but it's red for like a scene, and it's so clever how it's like you like the I don't know how to explain it. It's like the entire like shading of the entire scene is in red, but you can still
Hmm.
see different colors within the shot. Like you can still see like the blue on Dipper's hat and the brown on his coat and stuff like that. But there's still like a red ambiance to it, and it's like, oh shoot, something is about to happen in this
Yeah.
episode. Um, Another thing too, and I actually picked this up from the course, is in a way colors kind of tell their own stories. There's this
Hmm.
one episode, or not website. That's it. There's this one website where like you got like color like combinations, and like you like put them together, and they like again they tell like their own story. Like for example, like let's say for example you have four shades of blue. You have like a dark blue, regular blue, turquoise, and like one that's like white, but it's like one tint to the blue of white. So it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like it's blue, but it's like very close to white blue. So you have
Hmm.
those four colors, and then like peach, and so you have all five of those colors, and it's like, what do you think of when you see those five colors? Do you think of like a beach? Is the peach like sand, and then the blue, different shades of blue is like sky and water? And then it's like, if you think that, like, what are some of the feelings from that? Do you think calm, relaxing? Do you think different memories? What are some of your past memories from the
Yeah.
beach? And you can pretty much go down this rabbit hole of that, all just from colors. And I think that is like phenomenal. And as I said, I definitely want to do like a different episode talking all about colors. Which side note, like that's a big reason. Like if you see my social media accounts, it's like rainbow colors. And so there's multiple reasons why I did it, but a big reason why is just because I love all colors, and each color in a weird way tells its own story, and I love that so much. So moving on to number two of five, the next point I want to throw across is total control. You
Hmm.
have absolute control of the scene and everything that goes on in it, which I know some people don't like, and they'd rather just have a camera out, and it's like you have that tree there, you have that house in the background, and you have stuff set up. But I love having control, honestly. I like the idea of like you create everything from scratch. Like it's all you. You have that responsibility. And because of that, you have total creativity as well. You can
Yeah.
choose how houses look, how the landscape looks. Like in a very weird way, you get to play as God, if you will. You're the creator of this world. So
Exactly.
yeah. So Alex, if you have any more thoughts on control?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. You have all the control in the world. You don't have to, as someone who's had production classes in college, you don't have to go through all the steps to get, what you need to do to set up for something. You're just like, okay, here's what I want to put in this. Here's what angle I want to use in this scene compared to the next scene that we're going to draw. You just have all the freedom in the world. I think that's what's really cool about animation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the best. And like a big thing too is like creative like camera shots. Because if you want to go like to some like anime, like there are some camera shots in there that you just could not be beat. One example I can immediately think of is going back to My Hero Academia season
Yeah,
two, the battle that between, and I would say specifically Midoriya and Todoroki. Which side note we can get into a deeper episode on that. But the big thing there is like there are some shots there. If you try doing that in real life, some cameras are going to get busted.
yes.
You're going to lose, and there's going to be quite a bit of property damage on there. But with animation, you can blow whatever up, and nothing actually physically gets destroyed, which is fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah. And again, I'm a total sucker for creativity. Which a little random side tangent. in my final year of college, I did a kind of like my senior thesis was my own little film. And at the time, it was real life. But the big thing
Hmm.
that I was kind of anal about was trying to get creative camera shots. Now, what I ended up settling on was a first person perspective shot. And so I would always have like the camera in front of a person and it would like, of course, look like it's from like your point of view. But what I originally was going to do at first was trying to like pull a Breaking Bad and do as many different unique like camera shots. One example, I had a GoPro back in the day, and there was this one shot I remember recording, but ended up never using. I would have the character fill up their water bottle, but what I would do is I would have the GoPro inside the water bottle, and I would have the shot be like where the water like ends up coming towards you inside the bottle. Like
Hmm.
just stupid little things like that. And it's like that's and I love doing that. Like I just love thinking of those creative like things that like you would have to like either look twice or think twice about like putting in. And I love that. Like I'm passionate about that stuff. And what's so cool going back to animation is you can draw that point of view and there's no one's telling you you can't do it. And
Hmm.
I love that. I love that so much. So let's move on then to point number three, and that is the comedy. Comedy is, of course, huge because, I mean, especially now with everything going on in 2020, we need to laugh. We need to
Hmm.
laugh. We need to smile. We need to lighten things up. And in
Yep.
my opinion, animation is one of the best ways to do comedy, especially a physical comedy. Um, so I guess Alex, what are your thoughts on I guess just the comedy aspect of animation?
Yeah, I think depending on the mood of it, even if it's something more serious, it's always good to slip in a little bit of comedy to relieve that tension. Sometimes like I've seen movies where there's those really dark or intense moments, and the next scene is just like Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, even though that's a movie,
Yep.
still, that's just a prime example. There's those intense moments, and it's just like, at one point. But with animation, um, one thing I also liked, Gravity Falls did this, all sorts of shows, is sometimes even if a kid is watching it, they slip in those references or jokes that
Yes.
adults and people our age will get and go, ha 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 ha. My kid
Yeah.
may not understand it, but we get it. But
Yep.
yeah, so I think that's like one thing I like about humor. And you're right, especially in this day and age right now, all the insane stuff going on in 2020, and even sometimes a little bit of dark humor can, as weird as it sounds, can help as well.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I can bounce off that for a second, like with dark humor. Like it's like I even though I don't really necessarily like throw it out there, like I don't like I enjoy some dark humor. Like if it doesn't like really, I guess like offend me or if it like affects me like personally, like
Right.
I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. I think it's hilarious. I really don't mind it. It's just I try my best not to share that too much, just because like I don't know who is going to necessarily receive that, and
Right.
and that's the problem with social media, in my opinion, is that people can take that stuff the wrong way. So, for
Oh
example,
yeah.
one thing that I can actually say, like a recent example, I'm going back to that NASCAR video that I made last Thursday. And
Hmm.
so a lot of people laughed and they enjoyed it. Like, it's so hilarious how 40 cars send it into that wall and pretty much are destroyed.
Yeah.
But there was one person on Twitter. I don't remember their name, so I'm not gonna give him a shout out. And he like, and I don't know if he was being sarcastic because again, you can't tell on social media. But
Right.
he is like, you shouldn't joke about this. Like people have died crashing that same way, and it's like, you're right, but you gotta understand too that this is a game, and like
Yeah.
nobody actually did get hurt in this video. At least
And
I hope not.
right, and something like that most likely won't happen in real life. So it's a big meme, and unfortunately there are those people all over social media that are like that. Like, yeah, we get that, but it was just meant for the funny.
Exactly, and again, different types of comedy, which actually would not be a bad idea as another episode in the future. But like there are different types of like humor that people like. Some people like for example, the physical comedy, like as you mentioned before, Tom and Jerry and Looney Tunes. Like they were
Yes.
the kings of that.
Oh yeah. Prime examples.
Yeah, yeah, and just again how creative they can get with that. And then some other jokes, like ones that I love, is the wordplay, kind of like the dad jokes. My favorite
Yeah.
ones are the ones where like a word has multiple meanings, and like you
Mhm.
can totally like play them off. Like one stupid one, and I posted this on Twitter a little while ago. Didn't get much feedback, but that's totally fine. So Nickelback, the band, had they unveiled something last Friday. I actually don't remember what it was. Um,
Mhm.
so like they're doing that, and then I, being the dumb person I was like, are they actually going to get their nickel back? Because it's like nickel back, and it's just yeah. And some people like respond, and it's just like, why, Griff? Why are you the way you are? And I just shrug, and it just is what it is, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me of there was one episode where of SpongeBob where they were building the well. Mr. Krabs like had the idea, and at the beginning of the episode, he got the quarter out of the well, and at one point, the couple just went, "Can we have our quarterback now?" And at that time, I was like, "Quarterback? Because of because of
Ah,
football."
yep, yep. Ah. Well, okay, and that actually reminds me of a like another joke that I think I mentioned it on Twitter too. So there's a couple of mornings ago where it was a little foggy this morning out, and like it's normal to have some fog in the morning. And this
Yeah.
morning I had this dumb idea, and it's like I'm gonna try to catch this fog. It's like right there in front of me. I'm gonna try to jump up, throw my arms in the air, and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna catch this fog. You know what the problem is though? I missed.
Oh.
Just missed. Yeah, it's just stupid little things like that that absolutely crack me up.
Oh
And
yeah.
if there's a point in the future where I can create my own animated series, you're going to expect some of those jokes in there. Like I plan on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But before, and one last reference, you've seen all of Gravity Falls, right? Every single episode.
Yes.
Okay. There was one time where Grunkle Stan tried to fly, I think, this hot air balloon that had his.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah, and the letter A went, "What the H?" And the letter H just falls down. So,
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Like the physical. Go back to the physical. Like it's
yeah,
yeah. Because I mean, like, oh man, like even though he kind of got hurt in that, like it was funny. It was
it was.
hilarious.
And
Yeah.
plus, what the H? That's kind of like an adult reference, kind of,
In a way,
because he's
yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
Because I mean, he didn't say hell, so yeah, there you go. So
there you go."
all right. So kind of actually going along those lines, that's actually a good tangent then to number 4, and that is creative storytelling.
All right.
There is definitely man, and so and this kind of goes to number 2 as well, where like since you have control of like everything, the way how you tell a story, like you can do so much with that. And so the number 1 thing is show don't tell. And if you guys don't know what show don't tell is, it's when you like have a story or like thing in front of you, but there's no dialogue. You don't hear any words minced between each other. You just see the action and the actions. And I've said this before multiple times that actions speak louder than words. And I
Definitely.
love that so much. And I think one of the best people to do that is Gendy Tartakovsky, who created Samurai Jack, who created
Hmm.
Symbiotic Titan, and recently created Primal on Adult Swim. And I mean, we could talk about Primal in the future, but the big thing that I give absolute praise to for that show is how there's like almost no dialogue in the show, and everything you see is like again like visual, and that is something that I'm very huge on is showing not telling, and kind of a big reason why is because I'm not the best at like communicating and like dialogue, and it's kind of a lazy way too to kind of move a plot forward. It's what's that word? It begins with an E, not execution. sorry to put you on the spot, Alex, but what's that word where it's like it starts with an E and it's like they pretty much dump a bunch of information on you? You know what I'm talking about?
I think I
Uh,
do, but I'm trying to get it across my mind what word that is.
yeah. I want to look it up, but I'm also in the middle of a podcast too. We need like a moderator or something like that. But exposition. That's it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, where like people do like exposition dumps, and it's like, I'm not a fan of those. I'm just not a fan of those. I get bored of that so easily because it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's good like information, but all I see is just a talking mouth, you know. Which, side note, that's kind of a reason why I'm not really a big fan of like Family Guy nowadays. Is because it's just a bunch of guys just or people just standing and just moving their mouths, and it's like, it's animation. You guys can do more stuff with that. Show me the chicken fighting Peter Griffin. Don't tell me that you had this fight 5 years ago. I don't know. I
Right.
just random example, but no, I absolutely like you can have so many. And so going back to Gravity Falls again, big thing that I love about it is there it's like you go through the whole show once, you get a bunch of information, and then you go back and watch it again, and it's like now you have that information, and it's like it's almost a whole different show now because of that. And I love that. And so I won't get into spoilers now because again, I want to talk about this in a later episode. But there is like one thing where if you see it like you for like a few split seconds in the first like 3 episodes of the show, there's like for a split second a thing happens and it's like, wait, did I really just see that thing? And then it's like the ninth episode, you finally get an explanation as to what that thing was and why it was there in the first place. Alex, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Blended.
Hmm.
Okay. So, but yeah, like it's just those little things, and like yeah, you can do it like in real life as well. But there's just a way where going back to like control, like you don't have like those limited like physical like constraints like gravity and
Right.
stuff like that. And
Right.
to a degree, one thing I'm just not a fan of is mixing like CGI like animation with real life. Like it
Mm.
has to be done like Avenger style in order for me to like really enjoy it. Like it has to be so seamless that I don't even notice it to work in real life. But unfortunately, since that is so rare, I don't really buy it, and that's why I like animation so much. Is because it is so much more pure, and every frame, which is drawn, and like there's nothing like special. I mean, it's all special, but there's nothing like interest or it's nothing interesting. It's all really good. And then the last thing
Yeah.
I'll mention about the storytelling before moving on to point number 5 is it creates new ideas. And that's a big thing with going back to Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, and I'll even throw in Amphibia, which is on Disney Channel right now, and a new episode is dropping tonight. Um,
Ooh.
Big thing about all of those is ideas. And like there are times where like I would pull a Jimmy Neutron and I would have like a brain blast and I would
Yeah.
like write down like script ideas for new shows. Just on a whim. Which side note, I
Mm.
would love to do an episode in the future just talking about like ideas for shows, if you will. And
Hmm.
yeah, and it creates those new ideas. It gets those creative juice buds of flowing inside of me, and it's like, and then again, I want to make something like that, which is a reason why and this actually does side tangent into number 5, and that is the work that goes into animation.
Mm.
So I guess before we move on to that, is there anything else, I guess, from your experience, Alex, about like creative storytelling, some stuff that you like about it, maybe some good examples? What do you think?
Well, I think with creative storytelling, I think another thing is, I think what's really nice about, especially some of these shows, is that you know it- they uh, they teach you things in life too, and
Yes.
that they just kind of make that reference, be like, hey, this is something you can take away from this episode and what the whole thing is about. Something that I've always liked about creative storytelling as well, and not just for shows that are more oriented for kids, but for anyone really.
Yes. Yeah, that was actually one topic point that I originally had in the script, but I actually got rid of. But since you brought it up, I'll actually mention it.
All right.
But that is like lessons learned and morals. Going
Yeah.
back to Steven Universe, for example, like that show was kind of a big, I guess, turning point for me. Just kind of like a big thing is like acceptance and just accepting people for who they are, and that
Yep.
some people are just not right in the head, unfortunately. Which like
Hmm.
it's one of those things where it's like you can only do so much to like help someone else. And sometimes it's like it's up to them to like they have to like turn around their life. And there's just some things about that where it's like it takes an animated show for me to really realize that, and that it's important, and the way how they tell the story is super like it's clear. I'll put it that way. It's very clear, it's very straightforward, and it's like I get it. And again, it kind of it morphs me into kind of the person that I am. So yeah.
Hmm.
So moving on to the last one, and that is the actual work that goes into animation. So before I talk about that, Alex, do you have any experience at all with doing animations? Whether it is like flipping, like on a post-it, like doing little stick people, or have you done anything at all like with doing animations?
Man, I don't think I've done much of that, but I've always wanted to try the sticky notes thing and just never did it. But yeah, I can draw a little bit, but that's about it.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So for me, it's really funny because it's one of those things where it's like I'm late in the game in terms of like becoming an animator, but
Hmm.
it's one of those things that's always been like on my mind. And so back in late 2000s, like I did quite a few of the post-it sticky note stickman like things where like every like post-it note I would draw a stick person, and when you like flip it, you get like actual animation going. I did that. But then in the January of 2013, I took a month-long class, and that was like an introduction to animation, and that was kind of my first real taste into animation. And I remember enjoying it. Like I remember doing well in the class, and like and if there were more classes talking about animation and going down that route, I would probably be a lot more deeper into the animation field. But the problem is with my college I went to, and then kind of like where my mindset was after college, which was doing the NASCAR stuff. I never really touched actually doing animation. And to a degree, I kind of regret doing that, and I wish I could have done more. But I know that financially, it just wouldn't work for me. And just again, living where I am now, which is in the Midwest, there really isn't many opportunities for me to do that. But so then in like 2019, when I kind of got all inspired, I should say, to do animation, um, it's like I learned very quickly how much work animators do. Like it is a job where they got to be on the clock like almost all the time. And to be honest, like the animators just do not get the credit they deserve,
Hmm. I agree.
they work their asses off. And like going to anime, like I am so shocked at how much anime is out there, and how just
Hmm.
the quality of it all is just phenomenal.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's just like the fact that they put in all that time and effort, because like the human proportions are like accurate,
Hmm.
buildings are, like I could totally imagine myself being in their worlds. Like they did an
Yeah.
absolute fantastic job at that. And yeah, and just like everything is planned out beforehand, like with houses, and like again, like all the research that people have to do to like do that. And then just the fact that, as you said, Alex, like drawing, like these people, they draw all the time.
Yeah.
They draw like, and actually going to myself, since October of 2019, every single day I have a little like journal notebook, and I try to fill that up every single day with just drawings, whether that is drawing people, drawing buildings, cubes, perspectives, anything. My big thing is, so long as I get that muscle memory, because again, people draw like all the time, and like it's one of those things where, man, I and this kind of goes back to kind of like what I want to build here, and that is that kind of like that creative community. Like I want to like give praise and like really like show that like these people are hard workers and like they are very underappreciated. And again, like I want to credit them like as much as I possibly can, you know?
Hmm.
And then the last thing that I'll mention about this is that the fact that they can still work on the animations now during the pandemic.
Hmm.
Have you heard stories about how people are able to still work on animations during the pandemic at all?
I've heard a little bit. I've heard a little bit. I know some studios kind of had to obviously close their doors, but a lot of people, of course, can work from home as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've actually kind of like dug a little deeper into this, and like one example going back to My Hero Academia is that so they had all the subbed, which is the Japanese voices, but you can still read the English subtitles. They got all of those episodes done, but they still needed to work on a few of the dubbed episodes, which is taking the visual animation, but then having like English voice actors over them. And so I've seen it where the voice actors actually set up like their own little studios inside their own houses. And so they would have like blankets and pads and stuff like that around their microphone and computer, kind of like what I have now. And they do their recordings from there. And I've watched those episodes and they're great. I don't have any problems. I don't hear really much echo or reverb or anything like that. And that's great. It's fantastic. And then going back to making stuff during the pandemic, there was a show on NBC called The Blacklist. And I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this, but the season finale of that show, like the last, I think it was last half of the episode or something like that. Fact check me on this. Was animated actually. It was
Hmm.
originally like it is like a real life show, but because they couldn't get together because of quarantine and the pandemic, um, they had to animate it. And I mean, I have not seen the episode yet, but the animation but I mean, just the fact that they decided to go down the animation route is fantastic.
Yeah.
And so that's the big thing, and that's kind of a big reason why I want to get deeper into animation is because like I can do it, and I've been every day I've been taking little steps, just drawings and doing little walk cycles and stuff like that, and I'm doing it right here at home, like right here. I'm
Hmm.
drawing away, and it's great. It's great, and like it's one of those things where like when I'm just burned out from NASCAR, animation is kind of my pick me up, if you will. And it's fun just to kind of go down to that rabbit hole for a while. And then sometime a little later, I will then get that spark again to do some more NASCAR stuff. And I love it.
Hmm.
I love it. It's great. And I hope to continue to work more on animation and really kind of like create my own stories out of that sometime here in the future.
Hmm.
And yeah, animation is fantastic. There's a lot that people can take away from it, and
Yeah.
it is not just for kids.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, anything else before we jump to what people said on the Discord?
Oh yeah. This has been going around on Twitter. I'm assuming this episode came out recently. It's a show called Milo Murphy's Law. Um,
Yes.
and apparently they did an episode with NASCAR. Um, they held this race for a llama relief fund, and they had guys like Eric Jones and Ty Dillon, Joey Logano, Stadhouse, and Byron, and they also had Rusty Wallace and Mike Joy in there as well. So, and I actually watched it last night and thought it was pretty comical.
Interesting. See
Yeah,
that would be an interesting topic for an episode. Is like NASCAR related animated content
yeah.
because we could talk about like NASCAR racers and Cars the movie and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that'd be an idea sometime down the road. So before we get to the end okay, before we continue, we actually got a super chat here from a dad's life. Thank you so much for the $2. Greatly appreciate it. Hopefully the thing goes off back here. So the question is, why don't you try taking online animation classes? So I think I mentioned it earlier in the podcast, but I actually do. I do have an online course. I'm taking that right now. It's called the Animators Guild Intro to Animation course. And I've been doing that actually. And so, like, I've been doing some walk cycles and stuff like that. And I've been learning a lot online. And so far, it's fantastic. I couldn't do it back in the day because I didn't have a tablet and I didn't really know much about the whole animation process. So,
Mm.
thank you so much, man, for the super chat. It's greatly appreciated. So, with that being said, here we did get a couple of responses on the Discord here, and so if you guys wanted to join the discussion here, the Discord link is in the description below. So we have three responses here.
Mm.
So Alex, are you on the Discord right now?
Yep,
Okay, you want to go ahead and read the first one?
sure. So, from Steam's dev, he said, I like the vibrant colors. You get to see an animation. It gives more personality to some of the characters and the background and really gives an aesthetic to the animation. The color palette is really unlocked when it comes to animation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So the one thing that I actually take away from that response that was missing, or that I guess I probably should have talked about, was going back to like personality and like facial expressions. Like you can go all out with facial expressions, and that the example I actually think of right off the bat is that meme that you posted a while ago, Alex, of the Game Grumps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all I'm thinking about is just how extreme their facial expressions
It
were.
was, yeah.
Yeah, it's so like, and you cannot do that in real life without like making
Right.
things look absolutely terrifying.
Dude, cursed, yeah.
Cursed, exactly. So, yeah, but just like again, facial, and so again, going back to Gravity Falls, like some of like the faces that like Mabel makes is just like again, you cannot do that. Or Star, going back to Star versus the Forces of Evil, like
Mm.
she makes some like oh like expressions on like her eyes get all like big and like anime style, and it's
Yeah.
like again, you cannot do that in real life. And I don't know for whatever reason, I can like correlate with that more easily. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next response, and this is from Silverwolf64, and a little longer, but I can go ahead and read this. So he said, my main thing with animation, at least from an amateur slash casual perspective of YouTube videos and parodies, is the way you can have three videos from the same basic subject or idea, and each take a completely different route due to artist's interpretation.
Hmm.
Even when animations involve retelling historical events, the visual cues and gags, as well as varying levels of seriousness between the oversimplified, history matters, and simple history, overly explained, and Sam O'Nella Academy channels, art styles, they choose to use each have a certain charm and personality. Some, like Sam O'Nella and Oversimplified, have more funny gags and jokes, while Simple History takes a more dark, serious matter of fact approach.
Hmm.
Yeah, see, and actually, that's another thing that you can do is like not just like with history, but like retelling stories.
Yeah.
Like because, and actually, for whatever reason, the first thing that comes to mind is that SpongeBob anime that came out recently. Or was it recently? You know what I'm talking about, Alex?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, so I haven't seen it yet, but just like the fact that someone took the concept of SpongeBob, but then turned it into an anime, like, and so because of that, like some of the like you got tonal shifts and like the comedy that is used is like totally different, and so because of that, like interpretations can change on a whim, and it's fantastic.
Right.
So like what Silver said, like, yeah, you can literally take like ah man, you can this actually gives me kind of like an idea where it's like you tell a story, right? But it's like three people see like an event happen and each person sees like that event take place, but they have their own like point of view of it. And so you can take like an animation of each of those three and they'd all be totally different and they'd all be their own like unique style. Ah, I love animation. It's the best. So there's one more on the bottom here from Taylor Tot 16. You want to go ahead and read that?
Sure. So he said, "I love the the creativity aspect of it, the happiness it can bring, and at the same time, the sadness it can sometimes bring. There's nothing like making a character made of lines and colored in with different colors, have emotions and hearts like ourselves, making something that isn't real seem real, genuine, and human."
Yes. And so the first show I think of when reading that response is Steven Universe. Because that
Hmm.
show, again, it's like, it is a very, very simple, like, design, and like the drawings are, you can like easily like copy them and do whatever you will with them. But what makes that show stand out is kind of its heartfelt story and how like sometimes like you gotta be the Steven you want to be, which as they mentioned in the Steven Universe Future, and I choked up a little bit. Fun fact. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's just crazy how like you can get some like lines. You literally just draw like a bunch of lines, make a move, and they're just as human as real life. Man, and that's insane how like you can do
Yeah.
that. And so my big thing just is just again just creativity, and it's just like you can be creative with that, but then again you can have that like heart and like just and like just the fact that like everyone's unique and everyone has their own like quirks and
Yep.
things that make them special, you know. And with animation, like you can really like emphasize that, and there's a lot that you can do with that, and I love that so much. And so yeah, I'm still going to be working on like the NASCAR stuff, but I also want to work on animation as well, because there are like numerous times where it's like I have thoughts and ideas for like at least like a video. And one example, an idea that I'm just going to throw out right now, just to kind of as like a last thing before we get into the outro. Um, I've had like thoughts of just kind of um, like of myself, like who I am. And I don't know how much I've talked about this like on my channel, but one big just weakness that I have is just being around like a bunch of people. And I have
Hmm.
this like mindset of like I gotta please everybody. I gotta have everyone be my friend, and
Hmm.
it's not healthy. And actually, so one story that I'll tell here that I want to animate sometime in the future is this. So in the spring of 2016, there was a it's like a college version of prom. It's like a special like ball, but it's for college.
Hmm.
And just throughout college, like I never really had like a set like friend group. I would like jump between friend groups because you know I just want to like you know make everyone laugh and smile and stuff like that.
Yep.
But when I went to this ball, like I really I didn't really have that friend group to go with. I throughout the entire time I kind of just jumped between like I don't know, maybe like five different groups of people, stuff like that. And like it was fine at first, but then at the end, like I just felt miserable. I
Hmm.
was anxious out of my freaking mind because again, like we're talking about like at a ball, you got like this dance floor, you got a bunch of tables, you got a shit ton of people. Sorry for the language, but just a bunch of people just out there, and
Yeah.
oh, it's sensory overload. That's what's up. Like I get this
Hmm.
huge just sensory overload, and I just could not take it. And so when we all head home, like I got off the bus, started walking back to my place, and I just broke down crying. I just felt so
Hmm.
miserable. I felt so lost. I did not have that, you know, that group of people to really like resonate and talk to. And so what I wanted to make an animation on is just my thoughts during that entire part and just visually speak that out and like what's going through my mind, why am I the way I am, and kind of want people to understand that not everyone's normal, you know? Everyone has their quirks, as we've talked about multiple times. And my big thing is, again, like, if I want to make something, like, I want to make it the best it possibly can be. Like, I don't want to make some little piece of garbage thing, you know?
Right.
I just want to I want to be the best that I can be, which I've mentioned multiple times, and I know that I'm gonna fall flat quite a few times, and I know I'm gonna keep falling flat. I know I have enemies, which sucks, and I really wished that wasn't the case, but it just is the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, I just want to make stories on that, and just kind of like again like how I feel like when I'm around like girls, and it's a guy thing. Guys are attracted to girls, and just again like visually speaking, like how that looks. And also in the back, I've also had this like bigger story in mind, where like taking the idea of kind of like if you have the opportunity to be supernatural, like how do you feel about it? How like do you change like as a person like when you get like supernatural abilities? Like there's so many ideas that float through my head that I want to pursue so bad, but time
Mm-hmm.
is just not necessarily on my side. So yeah, it's very very interesting who I am, but I just love making stuff. I love making people smile, making people laugh, and to everyone that is here watching this live stream, or you guys are listening to this podcast later, I greatly appreciate you guys sticking around and taking the time to drop in and listening to us talk. So it's greatly appreciated. So with that being said, so Alex, I guess before we move on to the outro, do you have, I guess, any other comments in regards to just animation in general, things we missed on, things you wanted to bring up? Talk to me. What's on your mind?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think we've pretty much covered everything. It's just one of those things where I really can't think of anything at the moment.
Yep, and then you were gonna wake up at 2 a.m. and it's like, oh shoot, we forgot to talk about.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen later. I'm just gonna be chilling, and be like, oh, I want to talk about that.
Yeah,
That always happens to anyone, and we can all relate to that.
Griff, we need to get on right now, and we need to talk about this point for 5 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, sounds good. All right, so yeah, we're so throughout the course of this podcast here, the way how this system is going to go down is we're going to have a here. I'm going to jump here to the outro here,
Okay,
so we'll do that. Okay, so and thank you, Alex, for not reminding me. It's greatly appreciated.
you're welcome.
So the way how this cycle is going to, and so again, I did mention this on the other social medias, but not here on YouTube. We're going to do a cycle, and we're every 3 episodes. We're going to switch here. So we have the NASCAR episode, which we did last Monday. We got the animation one, which is the tune part today. And then next week, what we're going to do is a Ask Me Anything or Ask Us Anything episode, where we're not going to have much of a script. You guys are pretty much going to give us the content, and yeah, you're gonna ask us questions, and we'll answer, and we can hopefully have some nice, interesting discussions. And so the 3 ways how you guys can ask questions. First of all is the Discord, which is linked in the description below. And we do have a channel where it says questions for the podcast, and you guys can go ahead and fire whatever questions you want, whether that is NASCAR, animation, life, whatever. The only thing I would just say is so long as it's like worthy of a discussion, that's the big, I guess, caveat. The second way is later this week, I'm gonna make a tweet announcing like the 3rd episode, and in that tweet, then you guys can go ahead and ask questions there. And then the last one is super chats. And so with super chats and stuff like that, like I want to create things for a living, and that includes financially. And so like any little bit would help, and not now, but sometime in the future here, I am going to start up like the YouTube membership. And so if you guys are willing to pay a little bit just to help support my work, greatly appreciated. And I might consider doing a Patreon as well, because I'm serious about that. Like I want to like actually like make content and get paid for it. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't really know much about it, but in the next few months here, I'm gonna study and kind of learn more about that, and hopefully get a little more comfortable with that.
All right.
So yeah, just ask us anything at that time for the next week's episode, episode 3. And then after that, then we're gonna go back. So number 4, we'll be back to NASCAR, and I believe that's gonna be after the Daytona race. So not the road course, but the regular season finale.
Mhm.
So we could probably sit down and talk about like playoff predictions and stuff like that. And then after that, we can do animations conversation again for number 5. And then episode 6 then would be another Ask Us Anything episode. All right. So, Alex, where can we find you on the interwebs?
You could find me at my YouTube channel, Sonic Rules 831, and my Twitter is AlexGray83. And just remember, my last name is spelled Gray and not EY.
AY, not EY. And then,
There you
yeah,
go.
and you got your Sunday Night Lights. Want to maybe talk about that
Yeah.
for a minute?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, Sunday Night Lights is a project that myself, Noah Sweet, aka Lefty, Ferris, and my friend Jetman are all working on, and it basically inspired off of Griff's old One More Spark project. Um, I recently just released like a 1987 preview video, and right now working on the Bush Series season, and I hope to complete here within the next today or tomorrow. So,
Cool, cool. Sounds good. And then as for myself, I'm going to be making a little bit more NASCAR 2003 videos, but I'm also going to be working more on walk cycle animations. And you can find those on my animation social medias, which you can find all of that in the description below. And I think that's it. I think we're done. We accomplished another podcast here. We are, well, technically it's 2 episodes, but we could also say 3 because of the dress rehearsal. But
hmm?
it's 2. We're going to say 2.
All right.
So, all right. So, with that being said, next week's episode, we're going to be here same time, 5 Eastern, 4 Central, unless we mention it otherwise. Until then, well, I think we're good here. So, I'm going to go ahead and let's get out of here. And thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Alex, for being on once again.
Of course.
And let's get out of here. So, until next time, this is Griff Dog saying so long. Until next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. And out. And of course it's quiet. Hold on 1 second here. Of course we get to end on a crash. I appreciate it.
Oh.
Hold on 1 second. Alright, there we go. And then let's go back to me for a second. And there.
There we go.